Hello, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Quick Reviews. So before we get started, check out my last video for the contest that I'm having. I've been getting a few entries already, and they are making me really think my answers. So keep them coming. Second of all, I want to say that it's ironic, but every time I do one of these videos, I always say that next week it's a light week, or this week was a light week, and to be honest, it seems that that's kind of not valid anymore. I mean, technically they are light weeks because in my official pool, my pool hasn't really changed that much. I just added Rachel Rising to my official pool list, the books that the shop sets apart for me. But I keep picking up, every week I keep picking up new books. I keep buying more. And so last week I only had like one book, and I believe I ended up picking Nightcrawler #1 and a few back issues. And I just keep getting more and more stuff. And next week, which was already a pretty heavy week for me, it's gonna be get even heavier because this is releasing a couple of books that I'm really interested in checking out. And that just keeps on adding uh, more books, and a lot more money is being spent. So it's crazy, but there are a lot of good stuff that's coming out, that is already out, that I'm being curious to check out. I keep watching your videos, and you're talking about books, and I thought, I should really give that book a check out that book or something. Uh, so just trying to add a little more variety for my reading. Anyways, let's get down to it. So, like I said, not a very light week for me. So I got like my three regular books that I always have, you know, in my playlist. Plus, I've been picking up two other books. So let's get down to it. First up, Supergirl #30. This is supposedly part two of the Red Daughter storyline, the Red Daughter of Krypton storyline. Um, so a lot of stuff happens in this book actually. Part of it, it keeps a focus on Supergirl. Part of it, you know, sort of continues from Red Lantern #29. Plus, you got little subplots that Tony Bedard started since the beginning of his run. So part of the issue takes place in an alien world that's been attacked by you know other alien creatures, um, whose mission is sort of to destroy this alien planet and sort of make it better by you know calling the weak, and just keeping the strong. uh, you know it was a pretty easy defeat, considering you got Supergirl here, and she's pretty mad. But it's sort of contradictory at times, where sometimes she's just pretty angry, and at other times she's sort of mellow. So it kind of contradicts the fact that you know some of her feelings seem contradictory. you know Even the story itself seems to be contradict itself at times. But I guess it just shows the duality in Supergirl's own psyche. Her own feelings sort of are pulling in two different directions. um this coming week, this Wednesday, Secret Origins is coming out, and Bernard said, that his story in that first issue sort of deals with Supergirl's relationship with her mother, and we get a little bit of that there here, a little hint of that as well. Of course, we have what happened at the end of Red Lanterns, 29. So, it's a very interconnected. The two books are very interconnected, so you don't have to scratch your head where the story fits in, because it's clear that Red Lantern, Supergirl, Red Lantern, Supergirl. So you get that kind of a flow. But if you missed last issue of Red Lanterns, it doesn't really help a lot. Uh, in explaining things, maybe a little bit, but it's not that accessible. I think on that part, especially if you're like reading one book, it doesn't really help much. The other thing that's going on here is that subplot with Blaze, which is a this sort of demon, and it's an old character from post-credit Superman. Sort of. Let me see if I get a good image here. Her. Um, there's a subplot here that Bernard started, and she actually escapes the block, and this here right in front of Shiban Smith, that's the Silver Banshees apartment, so apartment building. So things are a little bit building up there as well. So I just hope that this whole plot point kind of because of this plot point, I just hope that Super comes back to her old self before this plot keeps on moving. But it seems that it will. So who knows? But yeah, besides the fact that there's some points where it seems sort of a contradictory attitude from Supergirl. I really enjoyed this issue a lot. Next up, Wonder Woman number 30. I think it's undeniable. This is probably one of the best books this you know, is publishing. This issue sort of seems like a slow book. One of the but I've mentioned before, slow, even the slower issues of the title, have a lot of stuff happening, but this one's like a real game changer, and it's so subtle that you don't really get, you know, the full scope in a first read. You kind of gotta think about it, a little bit, let it simmer in your head, because here, the whole the Wonder Woman's role completely changes. Um, we got the Amazons back. She's the goddess of war, and her mother, Queen Hippolyta, did not return with the rest of the Amazons, so she effectively becomes the new queen of the Amazons. And it's done so well, so subtle, so casual at times, from Azarella's writing, that you don't get, the big game change that goes on in this issue. Unfortunately, Cliff Chang did not do the art. It was Goran Zutka, which is which is the current alternate artist on the book. Um, but colorist Matthew Wilson keeps the whole issue together. This is an excellent, you know, like I say, it's a game changer. So now that the we know that this run is coming to an end, it makes me wonder what's gonna happen after. In fact, we don't even know what's gonna happen, next issue yet. And in the final issue. So they're just keeping you there at the edge of your seat, just waiting to see what happens next. Justice League number 29. One of the delayed books. Now Forever Evil is going to end, I believe, next month. So this issue was delayed, and issue 3 is gonna be delayed. Um, but I gotta say that this is the first Justice League book in a while that didn't make me angry. Stuff happens. Grid is taken down, so we know that in Forever Evil, the last issue, I don't even remember, it's issue 6, or 5, somewhere, Sinestro pretty much defeated Power Ring. Now here, um, Cyborg teams up with the Metal Man, and they finally take Grid down. Some really nice scenes, where Victor is inside the Grid, so we kind of get to see some of his mental state, his state of mind, that Cyborg has, Cyborg has. So that was interesting character work. The only thing that bothered me was that Geoff Johns did mention Cyborg meeting Platinum, but still, what we read last issue, I don't know where exactly or when exactly did they meet. I mean, because like I said about issue number 28, the story seems to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but everything seems to have happened at a very specific frame of time that it wouldn't allow for the Platinum showing up in the Justice League satellite. So that's the only thing I have a bit of a problem with this issue. But for the most part, I really enjoyed it. Those are like my regular books from my pool. So now let's go to the books that I've been adding. Fortunately, one of them just ended, so let's get to it. So, Ghost from Dark Horse Comics, issue number 3. Unfortunately, Ryan sucked into the art. It was done by Geraldo Borges, which it's not really bad art. I really enjoy the art. I really enjoyed. I'm really enjoying this series. This is you could say, the end of the first arc. Next issue, I believe, is like sort of like a little epilogue sort of thing. Don't want to get too much into the details of the plot, but I really liked how they ended the first story. There were like two stories, one involving Ghost, her connection to a guy that was possessed by a demon, her deal with the demon, and there was a sort of subplot dealing with a serial killer. So I really like how they tied up the whole thing. It was, I didn't expect it. Finally, the last issue of Skyman is issue number 4 of the miniseries. Um, I showed issue 3 last week, my last comic quick reviews, because the book didn't show up in my shop until like the week before the last video that I did. So luckily, I think this was like the only issue of Skyman number 4 I saw at the shop. I really liked how they ended it. It's not close ended. Obviously, that character is gonna show up in the future. I've really been enjoying how Dark Horse is, doing you know, their own, building up their own little superhero universe. So diverse. They got their own characters. They got these licensed characters as well. but they aren't dumping everything at once. They're taking their time building it. I think it all comes to a head next month with the Free Comic Book Day. But I've been enjoying this little mini. I mentioned that before. It sort of takes a very pure look at superheroes, um, contrasting it with our much more complex, much more cynical worldview. You know, where where heroism is sort of been that world has been sort of corrupted in a way where you have, like I said, I think I said in my last review of issue 3, Eric Reed, the new Skyman, he is very much, a pure hero in that sense of doing what's right, while the people behind Project Skyman and all these other Skymen that shown before are much more indoctrinated into the more military thinking of what a hero should be, of doing what's necessary, not what's absolutely right. There's no moral compass. You have a mission, you do it, doesn't matter who gets hurt, as long as the mission is being done. While, Eric Reed is pretty much the guy that does the right thing, despite his disability. Like, in issue number 2, where he went and rescued some people when, his handler, as Skyman, took down a potential terrorist. He can't walk. He's paraplegic from the waist down, and yet he took his crutches, threw them down, and just went and to rescue people. So, anyways, this issue ends. This first phase of Skyman. It's not a closed ending uh, uh, at all. It pretty much ends with the exposure of what the government's been doing with Project Skyman. His handler, Miss, wait, his handler, Lieutenant Sharp, is definitely gonna be coming back. He was, Skyman and Captain Midnight were able to defeat all these other Skymen with their prototype belts. I don't think a lot of them survived. And Sharp here, he just went, completely insane. So of course there's a potential threat, whenever he shows up. So a really, really cool little mini from Dark Horse Comics and their Project Black Sky line. So those are the books for this week. Before I go, just a reminder to keep sending in the your entries. Check out my last video. I'll try to leave a link below to that video. I've been getting a lot of support. Thank you very much for that support. So that's it for this week, and I'll end as I always do. Until next time, keep smiling.